The distance formula is a handy formula that lets us figure out how far apart 2 points are. And so the 2 points they give us for the problem we call basically x1, y1 for the first point because it has an x and a y and it is the first point. And then the second point we call x2, y2 because it's the second point and it has an x and a y. And if we can label it like that, all we have to do is fill it into this formula that we're given. That we have the square root of the difference in the x's squared plus the difference in the y's squared. And if we were to look at what's happening graphically, we would basically see that what we're doing is the Pythagorean theorem because we're figuring out how far apart are our x's, how far apart are our y's, and then we're doing the Pythagorean theorem. So let's go ahead and fill into this formula. In this first problem, we have x1, y1, x2, y2, and then we need to fill it in for our formula for D. So x2 is -6 minus x1, which is 2, that's squared, plus y2 is 1 minus a -4, and that's also squared. Now what happens here is that we have a minus a -4. If you're doing this in the calculator, just type this all in as it is or do your best to do that. But if we're trying to do this by hand, this -4, we would change, or there's a lot of different ways they teach you how to do that in like junior high. But basically, those negatives next to each other cancel each other out so that we end up with 1 plus 4. So the first parentheses though is -6 minus 2, which is -8 squared, and then 1 plus 4 gives us 5 squared. So we would do -8 squared, which is 64, plus 5 squared, which is 25. And that gives us the square root of 89. Oops. Which is approximately 9 point something. 9.434 if we're rounding to 3 decimal places, which is a good number to round to. Now your teacher may want you to leave it as square root of 89, or they may want you to type it in and find the decimal like that. You just have to ask them. On the second one here, we're going to do the same process, x1, y1, x2, y2, and fill in our formula. So 2 minus a -1 squared plus 7 minus 3 squared. So this time, in the first parentheses, we have that minus a negative happening. So that's 2 plus 1, which is 3 squared. 7 minus 3 is 4 squared. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. 9 plus 16 is 25. So we end up with a nice answer of 5.